I understand there's probably only one answer to this question, like so many that will be asked. How can a movement that is so inwardly focused demonstrate political power in the same way that some corporate interests and evangelical interests have done so, I think much to the detriment of our political process?
I didn't quite understand. Can you just repeat again?
How can an inwardly focused movement demonstrate political power to beneficial effect instead of to the detriment of our nations?
Thank you. This is a question for Marianne.
How did the Indians get the British to leave? What was Gandhi's movement of nonviolence, if not an inwardly focused movement? Martin Luther King went to India, he studied the principles of nonviolence, and he brought those principles back for application in the civil rights movement, struggle for civil rights in the United States during the 1960s. Please forgive me for my some level of ignorance about Canada's history, but most of our countries have had pretty much the same trajectories of places where there were levels of injustice that moved to justice. If you looked at the abolitionist movement in the United States, all the power, when you were just talking about the corporate power, the abolitionists didn't even have cell phones. They had no computers. They had no way of connecting. The economic power behind slavery, the institution of slavery in the United States, in the southern states of the United States at that time, was the equivalent of corporate power today. But they had a better idea. They had what was ultimately a more life-sustaining idea. That's the power of that line that Martin Luther King used to quote: the arc of justice is long, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Because ultimately, if you stand on something which is life-sustaining, freedom and liberty and fairness for life in all its forms, then you have what Martin Luther King called cosmic companionship. This is what is the symbol of the Christ child in front of the three kings. They bow to him. When you are in the presence, ultimately, no amount of money, no amount of corporate power, no amount of governmental power, none of those external powers, which are false anyway, will ultimately stand for all the reasons we were talking about earlier. They are powers of an illusionary world. And when we recognize, as Martin Luther King said, there is a power in us more powerful than the presence of bullets, in the presence that Eckhart so eloquently describes. There is a collective field of presence, which is what the Indian nonviolent movement was. It was a collective field of presence led by Gandhi, a collective field of presence led by Martin Luther King in the United States. Then ultimately, all powers of form will fall in the presence of light. The Course in Miracles defines light as understanding, and in the presence of light, darkness cannot be. We need to be, and also the Course in Miracles says faith. There is no such thing as a faithless person. Faith is an aspect of consciousness. But we tend to have more faith in the power of the disaster than we have faith in the power of presence. We have too much faith in corporate power. We need to have more faith in the power of presence, the power of love, which is not saying that all corporate power is bad, by the way, but corporate dominance. So I think sometimes political activists today are disserved by an ignorance of history. Because if you want to see political miracles, we've already had them. From suffrage to the abolition of slavery to many examples.
Yes.
It's not like, well, it's never happened. Thank you.
Thank you.